Titanic treasure. Introduction. The sea was calm as a huge new ship bound for New York City crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Suddenly, just before midnight, the crew and passengers felt a dreary thud as the ship struck an iceberg. Less than 3 hours later, the ship broke into two, disappeared under the water, and sank to the bottom of the ocean. The Titanic was gone forever. Or was it? The unsinkable ship. The Titanic was built in 1911 to travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Back in the early 1900s, airplanes were not available for passenger travel. The only way to travel between Europe and the United States was by ship. The Titanic was the largest passenger ship ever built. It rose 12 stories high. The length from a bow and a stern equaled 3 football fields. The builders fitted the ship with the watertight doors to prevent the ship from sinking. Tragedy strikes. Many people wanted to travel on the ship's maiden voyage. The last passengers boarded the Titanic on April 10, 1912. The ship left Southampton, England, and sailed to New York City, United States. But it never arrived. On the night of April 14, the ship struck an iceberg. People were not worried because they had been told that the ship was unsinkable. The side of the ship scraped an iceberg, causing the seawater to pour in, with more than 2,200 people aboard it. The Titanic started to sink. The ship did not carry enough lifeboats because people believed the ship was unsinkable. Women and children filled the few lifeboats that were available. Many people in the lower decks could not reach the boats on time. The Titanic's bow was soon underwater. At 2:17 a.m., the Titanic split in two. More water rushed in, and the two parts of the ship slipped underwater and sank to the bottom of the ocean. About 1,500 people did not survive that night. For many years, people discussed the tragedy and what many may have caused the unsinkable Titanic to sink. Some people tried to locate the ship, hoping to find clues to help them understand what happened. But the water was so deep and dark and too cold. The mystery of the Titanic tragedy went unsolved. Following curiosity, as a boy, Robert Ballard was very curious about the ocean. He explored the beach in the Southern California when he grew up. His parents and teachers encouraged his curiosity about the ocean. Robert spent hours fishing and exploring the sea life in the tide pools. When he learned how to snorkel or scuba dive, Robert followed his curiosity and studied many subjects to prepare for becoming an underwater explorer. He studied geology to learn about rocks and minerals, and he studied other sciences too. In the U.S. Navy, he received more training. Robert went to work on Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Massachusetts and studied Earth's oceans. He became interested in shipwreck and decided to find the Titanic. In 1985, advancements in technology allowed for more remote ocean exploration. So Robert and his few fellow scientists went to the area where the Titanic has sunk. They first used a small video camera to study the ocean floor. Robert and his co-workers also use sonar, which enables people to locate distances using sound waves. One day, the sonar showed marks on the ocean floor. Soon the group discovered pieces of the ship and the hull, which is the main part of the ship. By comparing what they saw with the old photographs, the team members knew they had found the Titanic. At first, they were so excited that they yelled and clapped. Although later they felt sad, they held a memorable service for the ship's passengers who did not survive. Ruba and his co-workers began to videotape the ship and study the tapes. However, the winter was coming, and Ruba's curiosity would have to wait. The sea had become too rough and dangerous for the exploration to continue. A closer look. In 1986, Ruba and his team returned better prepared. They now had Alvin, a submersible that allowed the person inside it to get into the tight places underwater and move quickly. Robot also brought Johnson Jr., which allowed a person above the surface for the water to control it. Robot's team used Alvin to view the decks and the rooms of the ship's wreckage. They recorded more video, and Jason Jr. also took pictures. The explorers were amazed and saddened when they found by what they found. The bow and stern of the Titanic was 1,900 feet, 579 meters, from each other. Between the two pieces of the ship was a derby's field. The team saw shoes, a safe, and a bathtub, and even a part of a doll. Robot and his team also saw that the iceberg has struck the ship's hull, causing the damage that allowed the water rush in. The weight of the water caused the ship to sink. Robot tried to protect the Titanic from treasure hunters. He did not want anyone to take things that belonged to the ship or its passengers. But in the following year, scavengers took away thousands of items from the ship. Some of the items were placed in an exhibit. Robot Ballhard is still protecting the Titanic. Every time someone explores the shipwreck, the remains are damaged more. Robot's goal is to get governments to sign a treaty or agreement saying that no one may take anything from the ship. Robot believes the Titanic should be respected as a memorial to those who died aboard it. The United Kingdom and the United States had both signed this treaty. Lessons from the tragedy. After the Titanic tragedy, shipbuilders no longer believed the ship could truly be unsinkable. Crews became later trained to take care of passengers in emergency situations. People learned the importance of putting enough life jackets and lifeboats on each ship for all passengers. The Titanic also taught people about the incredible power of the ocean. Scientists have discovered that the shipwreck's metal is being eaten away by tiny bits of rust. Tourists and divers had also added the ship's problems, littering it with everything from artificial flowers to soda bottles. Protecting the Titanic is a way to protect history. The original artifact on the ship tell a story that needs to be heard as it really happened. Every time people remove something from the Titanic or add something to its remains, they change history. Whenever this happens, it becomes harder to tell what happened to those 2,200 passengers over 100 years ago.